Hello, thank you for joining. I think we are pretty much right on the button for start time today. My name is David Laster, and want to thank you for taking time, whether you're watching this live now or whether you follow up another day with a recording. I do hope that this adds some level of insight and value as you consider moving from Dynamics GP to Dynamics 365 Business Central. I'm going to cover a number of items here that I think are really helpful as you get ready to go through this migration process. But first, I'm the Director of Software Solutions at Greyvoc. We service a lot of the Microsoft Dynamics products with a really fantastic team just north of the Boston, Massachusetts area. My background, actually, I'm coming at this whole presentation today actually from a Microsoft Dynamics GP avenue, if you will. There's a lot of customers that are thinking of the timeline and what's available and how to start the process and ultimately get to the goal line. And with this is my 26th year now of working in Dynamics GP. I wanted to share a number of my experiences and insights and I guess methodologies as you consider going on the Business Central journey yourself. There's no way I can show every little nook and cranny of Business Central or talk about it. So join me today for about an hour as I cover a number of key things that might help really get you informed and started. We do have some live demo along the way here, so you'll get to see some visual differences between GP and Business Central as part of our presentation today. So Dynamics GP, you may have heard, and that might be why you're here, is going away. Microsoft has announced the end of life, and they have a roadmap that shows us what that looks like. We're also going to discuss what Business Central has to offer. Business Central is a much more modern ERP type of environment. And with our workforce, with trying to be competitive and to cut costs, it's definitely a product worth taking a good look at. So I'm going to share a number of differences as well as some features that offers differently than Great Plains does. Along our discussion today, I will provide a number of visual detail comparisons of how GP and Business Central are different in some key areas. And you're all smart. You'll extrapolate from there and understand how it would impact your role in your company, whether you're in payables or receivables or shipping or warehousing or producing and manufacturing. There's a lot of roles and capabilities that you can latch on to and dig a lot deeper on. You also want to figure out how to get there. You don't just push a button and have Great Plains migrate to the cloud. And Business Central is not Great Plains in the cloud. So helpful tips I think that you should learn from me today in terms of how I've helped other customers on their journey to get to Business Central. So yeah, GP is going away. Microsoft acquired Dynamics Great Plains long ago, and now that its end of life is coming up, we are coming across more companies that come and say, "I have 25 years of history. I've been using it for 26 years or 28 years." It's been around a long time, but the on-premise computing environment with servers and server rooms and air conditioners to support your Great Plains environment, even moving forward virtually, is going to be different. So here's what the timeline looks like. You may have recognized when they changed the name way back in 2019 to Dynamics GP. All right. What's happened over that time is they've continued to do service packs and updates, but they did get to the point of announcing 12/31 of 2029. So you got a few more years left to go before they stop giving you service packs. Okay. So, and support. So what does that really mean? Okay, I think you're most exposed if you are using payroll, specifically in Dynamics Great Plains, right? Because if you're doing payroll, there's a year-end process. There's also tax tables and things that get updated as part of that first week of payroll in the new year. That's not going to be available or provided. So you could be uncompliant or non-compliant, I should say, with respect to that. With fixed assets, sometimes there's some changes in the tax rules and the laws, and that's usually part of a service pack. There are other statutory updates that you wouldn't be getting moving forward. So some of those are also security updates. And while those are going to extend to 2031, it's really hard to say what those will will be, but it is, a really different type of computing environment. And GP's been trying to keep up with some of the more modern architecture for quite some time. So it's really kind of a good thing that we have some off ramp here to start considering how to get our workforce and to get ourselves positioned to migrate to a supported product that's going to yield a little bit more functionality for you. So naturally, I'm going to talk about Business Central. As you are seeing a lot of folks considering Business Central, they do have the opportunity to stand up a free 30-day trial. So it's nice, you have a Great Plains, you have the Fabricam company. With your free trial, you can log in and utilize the free company that's out there. It's called Cronus USA. You can get a little look and feel. I have some stuff today that I'll share and show you from Cronus as part of our overview. The cost is incredibly affordable. Current price is about $70. It is $70 a user per month for an Essentials user, which covers just about everybody, but not quite. There is an upper level tier of licensing that it's currently $100 a month. And this one enhances it. If your business is more complex, especially with respect to manufacturing, so maybe some advanced warehousing components that are part of your business, or even the service management, where you create and service assets and whatnot that you've sold to your customers. The capability exists. It has a lot more reach and support needs, so it definitely has a slightly different price point. And then they have another level of user, which Great Plains had as well, which was like a light user. It's more of a team user. A team user is what they call it, so that they can really read and approve some workflows and really minor things, right? They're not really posting batches and doing the daily accounting type of work inside of Business Central that you might be used to doing within Dynamics GP. And of course, Microsoft has been incentivizing their base to try to move to a new ERP, specifically Business Central, and they have extended a promotion. This is the second time that they've done this. This time around, and it looks like it expires for qualified customers that already own Great Plains, about a 40% discount. So this is really a nice opportunity. You have some time to convert and get there. It's not that you have to go to implementation phase right away. They give you a nice window of time, but especially if your enhancements coming up before the end of the year, this is an important date to recognize. If you want to get some savings, I don't anticipate that's going to go up moving forward. So try to lock in that opportunity while you can. You got plenty of time to learn about the product between now and then, so you can make your decision. So one of my favorite things that's different about Great Plains and Business Central is the platform interoperability. When we're in Great Plains, we always like to want to email things and export smart lists to Excel. But the rest of Great Plains in terms of the Microsoft platform is not that impressive. So in our accounting world, or in our ERP end user world, we're using a lot of the classic products, right? Business Central, especially with Microsoft 365 and have the Office products in the cloud, Word, Excel, Outlook, SharePoint, we use these on a daily basis for this and that and the other thing. Business Central uses all of them as part of its workflow, as part of its interoperability. So it's not as clunky as it was in Great Plains when you're trying to send emails and export to Excel. It's way more fluid in terms of comparison, as well as much better functionality that you get because of the way that the architecture has been constructed. Some other pieces of the interoperability that are fantastic to know about are, if you move straight across that line there to the Power Platform, part of Business Central is analytics, but it also has out of the box Power BI reporting and analytics. And I have a little bit of that to show you when I get to that part of the demo. But you're not just using the classic products here with the ERP, you're using and have the opportunity to leverage the Power Platform, which when you're in the Great Plains world, there was an enterprise gateway requirement in order for you to communicate with the cloud and perform the tasks and flows and so forth. So the advantage of being able to use more of that cross-platform functionality out of the gate is really advantageous as well. The top part of this diagram talks about other things that you can connect to, because Business Central's in the cloud, and so is pretty much everything else these days, right? So connect apps. you can, and we have built a Connect app that goes and uses data sources from online resources. And we can bring in or synchronize customers or transactions or journal entries. There's all kinds of things you can do with a Connect app that you can't really do or build or support easily with Great Plains. The APIs are much stronger now, and they continue to evolve, unlike eConnect for Great Plains, which you're not going to really see any changes in those moving forward. There are ways to connect to resources out of the box with Business Central. And I'm going to show you one of those today regarding the ability to use fintech, financial technology, to connect your banking activity from your ERP seamlessly out to and through and back again from your bank for bank reconciliation, for payment instructions, and so forth. So it's a lot more seamless with Business Central. And of course, there's AppSource. There's hundreds or even thousands of applications that might be purpose built for maybe your business. Maybe you need to do special lease accounting, or you need to have some special asset tracking performed, or service tags tracked. So there's a lot of extensions, is what they call it. They take Business Central and they do more with it. So you can reach up even higher into the stratosphere and connect to your business environment. Couple of items to as we whirl into the demo here. You'll notice right away when I pull it up on the page, the user interface is much more modern. All right, with Great Plains, it's very boxy. You can open up one window, one record at a time. It is great, but the modern approach to Business Central, you'll see right out of the gate, especially with the layout of card pages and list pages. Card pages are similar to Great Plains, but they're dynamic in nature, and then you can easily customize and personalize those pages. List pages are like the inquiry pages in Great Plains, where you look at a vendor's transactions and then you can filter by ranges and things, except they're way better because you can apply wildcards. You can save those searches right in the window rather than have to come back to them every single time. The Great Plains account string pieces together segments. Okay, you might have a branch segment, a department segment, a cost center segment, whatever terminology you use for the different segments in your chart of accounts. Those translate to a dimension in Business Central. And this is the biggest difference, I think, with respect to the comparison. Great Plains has the fully qualified account string, A plus B plus C plus D, or whatever it is. In Business Central, you start with a clean list of master account numbers, and then you use a dimension to further define the debit or the credit or apply to the transaction as though it was a tag. It's incredibly powerful and super simple to use. You can use numbers or you can use letters. So you can make your codes a little more human readable, which I think helps adaptation and helps with data transferability, as well as simplifies reporting because you don't have to perform too many translations, if you will. Incredibly powerful. Onboard reporting is everywhere. So is analytics with the click of one button. You go from a list mode to an analyze mode, and a lot of pages are list pages. So you get a lot of quick information as you're searching for your data. Microsoft has invested heavily in Copilot, as you probably know. It's part of the Microsoft umbrella and platform. But within Business Central, the things that Copilot can do to help you find things, to help answer questions you have, to help summarize, it's here. And it's no longer just a preview kind of thing. So make it part of your workflow. I'll demonstrate how to use that as part of the session today. We talked about Microsoft platform interoperability, but I'll show you how this works with Teams. And this can work with editing directly within Excel. So some really neat capabilities here that just, Business Central or GP is a little too old for enabling. And I can't tell you how many upgrades I've done for Great Plains customers. It's probably pushing 400 or 500 over the years. And it's an event. It takes time. It requires oftentimes hardware or additional software because of compatibility. It can be an expensive venture, and it can be a deterrent to helping your business grow. because if you don't get the new functions and features, you can't utilize them. They're there for a reason. So it's hard and it can be expensive to stay up to date with GP. But with Business Central, they effectively have bundled together two waves every year. There's an April wave, and then there's going to be an October wave. And those are like their major releases. So you're really getting two releases every year. Great Plains gave you one. So, there's some advantages to doing this. They also have these smaller waves where they do the big wave first and then they follow on with additional functions and features month after month after month. There's a planning guide so you can review and preview all the items that might affect you or enable something that you're looking to have happen. It's pretty nice. It's publicly available, and it's called the preview guide. We also will talk about briefly our Bullhorn One connector, and that's a surrogate. That's a substitute for anything that's an extension, anything that's outside of the Microsoft Business Central platform that allows for business specific or functionality that you really don't necessarily have out of the box. Let me bring over my Business Central real quick. I created a company for today that's called Great Plains GP to BC Overview. Right, so we can see a little bit about what the modern user interface looks like and how that compares, as well as a number of other areas. So I think the first thing I want to point out is that I logged in and I didn't have to have a SQL Server user. So there's lower admin costs for creating and maintaining your users. They're assigned in the Azure portal to a license. That license gets pulled into Business Central. And from here, you assign them their security and their roles so that they can move about inside of the application. I am logged in currently with my default role center. Great Plains had its own role centers too. You could choose what your role was. This is similar in nature, where it's going to put things on your home page that it thinks you might like to use or might call out your attention to help you get things done and surface information that is pertinent to your liking. Now, I am currently logged into one company as my own user. There is the capability of having multiple companies. So, don't worry about that. Business Central can support up to 300 unique company entities inside of one production environment, which brings up a good point. You have one production environment as part of your license and space added per user as well. And then you get 3 sandbox environments. And the sandbox environments, if you're comparing those to Great Plains, it's different servers. Very rarely did I come across customers that actually had a separate server with a whole separate development environment or a second or a third tier. There are plenty that do, don't get me wrong, but it's very rare because it's expensive. You need hardware, right? You need licensing. You need the ability to maintain and roll over. With Business Central, the administration center allows you to copy your production environment to a new sandbox anytime you want. Generally, it takes less than 5 to 7 minutes, but then again, it depends. Do you have 300 companies set up? How large is your database? But the ability to do that and not have to pay extra for it, I think is a huge advantage over some of the other products that you might be looking at on the market. So I am in Business Central, and I'm going to switch my settings to something that I've personalized. So currently, the things on my homepage are my business manager surface items. But to demonstrate, the list is a list of published items that you can surface for your users right out of the gate. So you can help people started quickly. Part of what we do is we implement and integrate products to Business Central, not just the Bullhorn connector, but all kinds of different things. But to show the example of what I want to cover today, you'll see I'm going to switch my role. This doesn't change my security. This just logs me in essentially with a completely different homepage where I've already personalized some things to go through the process of showing some key differences between GP and Business Central. All right. Perfect. So inside of BC, I've already integrated data from an outside system, but I want to look at it before posting. I can click into a list page. This is a list of invoices. Great Plains, you would have this in a smart list, or you could print an edit list. and it would show you all of these individual documents here. Okay, so very similar in nature. And yes, that was a list page. I can click into my customers page in terms of a modern user interface. And if I pick any one of these companies here, you'll see the page is pretty clean. It's pretty neat. You have fast tabs for navigation. So fields of like importance are grouped together in ways that help you get what you're after pretty quickly. You also can summarize important things all through a functionality called personalization. In Great Plains, that was called modifier, and that was a challenging process to go through to go and modify windows and screens and get them set up for end users. So this in essence is a card page. When I go back to my home page, look at the data that I've integrated, in this case, from a lines page, sales lines. I've sold a number of items, just as an example, to show you some of the reporting capability. We talked earlier about this is a list page, and I have the capability to filter and apply searches and narrow down what I'm looking for. And as soon as I do that, I'm able to do a save as on virtually every list page and turn it into a smart list. So if I'm just looking for things to ship, things to bill, things to post, I apply that criteria as a saved list and I'm able to get there, see what's actionable, and then generally from all of these pages, you're going to have an action item where you can post it, you can print it, you can essentially move it to the next phase. All right, so smart lists and finding your information is pretty easy to do everywhere. You can drill back pretty much from any angle. Virtually everything is hyperlinked. So totals, drill through. I'm in a list and I drilled through to the document. Similar in Great Plains, sometimes fewer clicks, but the nature of the two is pretty similar in terms of drilling back and through and navigating your environment. Now, I mentioned analytics, and I think analytics is one of the easy, fun things to demonstrate, along with a little bit of AI and Copilot. Okay, so if I turn on the analytics button, I took my list and I want to call it, I want to make it 3D almost. Right, so I now have my list page, and it's a little more, let's call it dynamic. I have noticed at the bottom that I have a create new analysis. This is a Copilot prompt. So I'm about to write a report. This tool is available for you with your license as part of Business Central. Maybe I want to use this to help me find something in Business Central. This is getting really fascinating to start to use. So maybe I want to tell my Copilot, summarize by number, and then by customer. If you're not used to using AI and building prompts yet, the prompt guide can help you. You can use prompts to help you with the conversational nature of talking with the model. All right, I'm going to keep this one short, sweet, and simple and hit generate. And using Copilot embedded in your ERP allows you to save some time. And I'm now able to see in this environment that I've already written a report and it summarized my lines by customer. I do like this report, so I'm going to keep it. And it moved on. I can rename this. I can share this. I can open this in Excel. So the analytics nature combined with some of the Copilot functionality can really save you a lot of time and potentially a heck of a lot of consulting dollars as well, because you're going to be able to do a lot on your own. I do want to pop into, let's say, the customers list and do a little bit of interoperability demonstration and how it's different than Great Plains. What you might notice is my customer list page has, it's incomplete. Let's say I really noticed that my payment terms codes are missing on some of my customers. Well, I really like to backfill that information. And if you notice this in Great Plains, you pretty much have to double click and go into every single card or build a macro or write an integration to go take care of this kind of thing. With Business Central, it gets a little bit easier, I promise. You can't only just open this page in Excel, which is fascinating compared to GP, but you can edit in Excel too. So with the proper permissions assigned to the proper users, you're able to get the customer record open for edit mode in Excel and you can do some data cleanup. Let me enable editing right here. It's going to go connect on the right side. It's got that Dynamics add-in that you might be used to now, as you see in a lot of Office products. So we just pulled this out. I'm going to go find my payment column. It's not that one. It's that one. Perfect. I love how it highlights it pretty easily. So let's do a net 10 on this one. I'm going to put a net 30, and I'm going to put a net, let's say 20 on this one, and we'll leave this one blank. Let's publish this right back into Business Central. Right at the bottom, process 3 changes, publish successful. On my home page, all I have to do is hit F5, and anything that was writing up from that publication will automatically appear. We're down to one that no longer has a value. So maybe I want to write a report based on that for the future. I want to filter to just where it's blank, and I want to save this as where missing payment firms. I can't type. There we go. Okay, so now I have a saved search or a smart list, if you will. I can export this, I can drill through it, fix it, and it falls off the list. I can also share this item to a Teams channel. So I can assign it to somebody or to a group. A list of information that's actionable inside of the ERP. Doesn't have to be just missing payment terms. It could be a list of orders that need to be fulfilled. It could be a list of customers that were created in the last 3 or 4 days, so you can deal with credit or collections issues. So very powerful, that interoperability capability that you see within Business Central. I have one more to show you. It's one that I'm using more and more as we go through discussions with customers. Just about everybody uses Outlook in one way, shape, or form. And again, being on the platform, when you adopt Business Central, you have this capability of utilizing this Contact Insights, this add-in over here. So imagine you are in email, and we all are, and you can see Business Central with it. So you can look at contacts. When I send you an email, it recognizes that I'm a contact and who I work for. It's incredibly powerful because you can't only just, it doesn't just behind the scenes recognize things, but you can do things with this as well. So I can create a document, a sales order, a sales invoice right from here, and it follows its way into Business Central based on the capabilities that are assigned to me really as a user. So it extends where your inputs can come from for your ERP. Touch it once and be done if you can, but you also build this nice edit trail that's out here. Let me go view my existing contacts. You see I've got my contact name is already out here. At this point in Outlook, I have just surfaced information about me, a contact, and I could be a customer, I could be a vendor. I can make some changes to this, but more importantly, I can then essentially use this as a point of information to go now and create that purchase invoice or that sales order or whatever document or interaction it is that we want to facilitate. And there's quite a list. I can create an opportunity right from here. I can look at the statistics on the customer or the vendor. So incredibly rich interoperability that you're just not going to see this in, if you're using Great Plains. Nor will you realize the efficiencies of, considering getting here faster. If we all save time, if we get a little bit more modern, a little bit more quickly, that stacks up, I think, especially with administrative staff and time and cost and what we really do with ultimately producing financial statements. So next thing I want to talk about briefly is this functionality that addresses what you would call the ISVs, the independent software vendors. So in Great Plains, you buy a product, you install it, and that layers on top of or enhances functionality for Great Plains. That also exists in Business Central. You can see it from within Business Central. I'm using this functionality called Tell Me or Search. And it's going to look through Business Central all over the place and try to surface things that are going to be useful to you. It's very, very powerful. The Great Plains web client had this, but nobody used the Great Plains web client. So we have it here in Business Central. I assure you it is a linchpin of how you will navigate the system. and get used to things and find things. Let me go to extension, find it here. They changed the name, Microsoft AppSource Apps. And this is going to be a list of Microsoft apps, not Microsoft apps, but apps produced for Business Central, that's published outside of Business Central that you're more than welcome to take a look at or to bring in. These are very nice, but generally you want to deploy one of these in a sandbox. It needs to fit a gap. It needs to have a purpose in order to go outside of core Business Central. It's already incredibly rich, but know that comparing GP to BC, this is one option for extending your environment. Now, we also have built an extension, and customizing Great Plains was done by many in the past. We customized and built a product for Business Central that does some integration work with another cloud-based system. It uses an API. Instead of there's no flat file, it goes API from here in Business Central to the API over at the end source. That source happens to be Bullhorn. Bullhorn is an applicant tracking system. It's widely used in the staffing and recruiting industry. But this is just an example. So if you're here for manufacturing, if you're here for production, if you're here for other things, rest assured, we have all of that covered in terms of functionality. But when I go into this extension mode, I'm going to show you like two buttons. Ultimately, this is a page that was created to do that interaction. The interaction of calling in the API and gathering information, handling what we get, and then responding with whatever is needed. Is it successful? Is it failed? Why? All that information can be built into. So I mention this because there's a lot of companies out there that are migrating from Great Plains to Business Central. And you might have a special purpose application or a special app integration that you're doing now using Integration Manager or using Smart Connect or even having your own custom web service, application. Business Central can extend to do that type of thing. It can also extend to allow for dragging and dropping of source files in case you still need to pass a flat file. One other interesting item that you'll see here is more of that platform integration here, where Power Automate. So if you want to initiate an integration based off of going and checking a SharePoint file folder to see if there's any new orders in it. So you can do some pretty neat things here with integrating your data or your transactions or your records into Business Central. All right. Let me pop this thing back over here. I think we made it through all of these. Let me pop into the next screen here. So it all looks great, right? There's a lot of neat stuff that we can see, we can drill into, we can share and show you, but it's always nice to start with a baseline. Where are we now? You go for a physical every year sometimes. This is essentially the equivalent. Like, what do we have? Are we in good shape? Is there anything I need to know or worry about? But you're doing it purposefully with the intent of rocking the boat. You're going to change, you're going to move the cheese, you're going to pull the rug out from everybody at some point. So it's good to be thorough with this GP system audit. Typically, it's going to, have how many customers you have, how many vendors, how many companies you've set up in Great Plains, how many users are using it, current state, of course, with the mind that there's also a column out there that's future state as you go through the thought exercise of the migration process. So get a good baseline. That is a service that we, Greyvoc, provide. We do it in an expert fashion. We are more than efficient at getting through this process. And it's a lot like speed dating environment. It takes a couple of hours to go through that piece of it, but we gather the facts. If that's something that would help you, definitely reach out so that we can at least get that part of it going so that you can consider where to go from there. But it's good to get this done so you can start to make those decisions. We'll start with your chart of accounts after that. When you get serious about moving, the very first thing that we have to do is the chart of accounts. And remember, it's different. In Business Central, it's just a main account number, and then you have dimensions. You can have up to really 8 dimensions as part of your debit and credits. You can apply other dimensions to other things, but we'll talk about it during discovery and design. Just know the dimensions and segments are pretty close to each other. Okay, but you need to iron out those lists for future states. Um, you also, if you're looking at changing things from old to new in your chart of accounts to make it better, which you should, you're going to want to create a mapping of old to new so that we can take maybe run a management reporter report up against your Great Plains data and get your GL net changes out and format that and load that to Business Central so that you can build your financial statements with the new accounts in the new tools. And yes, there's a management reporter like reporting tool with rows and trees and columns within Business Central. So you don't need a separate product necessarily for that, unless you have some complex reporting requirements. Other than the chart of accounts, what else do we need to start with? We generally need to go through and work with you on your master records. What are those? Vendors and vendor addresses, and maybe even the vendor banking information. If you're using EFT for payable, we want to bring that stuff over so that you can continue using EFT for payable, right? We also have customers, like I said, items. If you're in inventory and you're selling items that are on shelves, the assemblies that you put together and sell, also production orders or manufacturing orders in Great Plains that you are building product and utilizing inventory or even doing projects. Uh, Business Central has a projects module as well. So whatever your track master records are, start to consider what needs to survive. All too often we see very big lists, and I hear I want to keep it all. When it gets down to it, we don't want to take junk and put it in your new system. We really want you to get the most out of it, use the most relevant records, the most recent customers and vendors. And if one has to get created, you can do that in the future. Part of the reason is there's a numbering series in Business Central that doesn't exist in GP. Very important to note. So you can auto number next customer number, and it just keeps a sequence. You don't have to go into your customer list and try to find aardvark 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, which is next. So it's a lot easier in terms of auto numbering, and that happens in a lot of places in Business Central for your master records. So think about that as you're planning your migration, and I recommend moving to the auto numbering system where possible. You can do hybrid, you can mix and match. You can keep the alphanumeric master records if you'd like to, and then start numbering moving forward. Perfectly okay to do. Anytime you're doing something of importance, always good to have a good partner. Implementing ERP is something that does require a fair amount of skill and understanding to do and to get right. There is a 30-day free trial, and I mentioned that early on. That's one way to get access to Business Central. You can see, look around, and plenty of people do. But in order to actually implement ERP, it is best to consider the partner that you're going to do it with. It is not a project that you want to do twice, nor is it a project that you really want to go over budget on. So a chart of accounts analysis, a system audit, having your partner really understand what needs to move and get set up is going to be critical to taking your next steps beyond what you've collected and really putting it into motion in terms of creating that future state. A good partner is going to methodically and carefully set up each module in the right order. They're going to load the records into that environment that need to be in certain places at certain times. They're going to do a little bit of testing just to make sure that all the setups are created thoroughly and accurately, and will perform based on what was done during the discovery phase. Then you get to test. Your team gets to test anything and everything inside of Business Central so that you get the comfort level of what it's like to spend a day or a week or a month of life of the new system before you're forced to. Incredibly important. Testing isn't just testing new stuff that gets created for you. It's testing the knowledge of people who are going to do the work. Can they print a check? Can they post a payment? Can they, apply or unapply cash receipts? Can they print the aging? So a variety of things in the setup and testing phase need to be considered. And then, of course, there's a broader testing or training step. A lot of folks will go through train the trainer as an implementation methodology, where the partner is training the key users, and then the key users are then working with the rest of their teams to ensure that the same message is delivered to all the users, the same process is followed among all the users, right? And everybody knows what happens next. We don't want to leave anybody in the dark, especially with respect to job requirements. So the training piece really is really you start to build some great momentum with where you're trying to go in the future. Uh, After everybody's involved and you know what's happening, you get a good sense of what's moving, um, how it will be used. We need to think about making a clean cut over. Very rarely do I see folks do a parallel in full for a full month. If you want to, you can. I like doing my job once a day. I don't like necessarily doing it twice, but the importance of testing really impacts the effectiveness of your cutover. Generally, you're always going to get your open accounts payable invoices, your open accounts receivables, and your uncleared banking transactions from all the banks that you're carrying forward. We recreate those at a very minimum. There's also the general ledger net changes that are going to come over at a very minimum, so that you can then enter and apply cash receipts to all the open AR as soon as possible, that you can pay all the open payable invoices as quickly as possible. And then as soon as that first month bank rec is, available to you, and maybe even using the online banking capability, you can start to reconcile daily and you don't have to manually key in as much. So cutover planning is different for everybody, multiple companies, integrations, people, roles change. So cutover planning is very important to consider and communicate as well. Don't just assume everybody knows the game plan. Go through it a couple of times because you'll be surprised. It might grow from this long to this long when you involve everybody and have multiple conversations. I've seen it happen many times. And then get ready, start to build some excitement because Business Central is coming. It is going to change the way that you work, the way that you extract information from Business Central, or from your ERP system, the way you communicate, the platform functionality, and so forth. It's just, it's really definitely something to get excited about. A lot of folks don't like change, but as you can see, from some of the screens and the modernization that Microsoft has embedded in Business Central, I would hope that your end users would be welcome to that change, especially coming from Great Plains. We've been boxed into some of this modernization for quite some time. They've tried. Microsoft's tried really hard, but ultimately, you're going to see all of that come to fruition with Business Central. So I am going to open up the floor to see if there's questions from anybody in the audience. Christine is here with me. Christine, have you found anybody with questions yet that I breezed by a little bit ago?
I don't see any in the chat or the Q&A, but if anyone does have any questions, feel free to drop them in to either the chat or the Q&A. You can get those answered live.
I assume you all know where to find us. Uh, Please do reach out. If you haven't gotten a demo scheduled, we'd like to do that for you on your time with the right people. If you are still curious and want to know more, that's fine. It's a journey. We're here for that journey and with you afterwards as well. I think that's a differentiating factor with Greyvoc is that we just don't jam in anybody's implementation. We really make it work for the business, and we stick around long after your lives so that we can be supported. Business Central is constantly getting updated and is getting enhanced. So there's new features that you want to know about, need enabled. There's some administration work that you might not need to do with Great Plains anymore that you might need a partner to handle, the admin center. So there's a whole lot of different things that we can do to help with our team and supporting your Business Central environment. So I don't see any other questions out there. So
I see one question actually just came in, David. What is typical time to plan/changeover? Been on GP for over 25 years. So what can we do now to help make this transition smooth?
yeah, good question. I kind of opened up with a lot of folks that are on the 20-25 years worth of GP history. Um, to make the transition smooth, the first thing is the audit. Find out what you have, and then discover what a future state might look like. Because bridging the two is really the start of that. I think, in my opinion, can't do it all. Can't do it all quickly. Time frame. It really depends on the complexity of the environment. If I was to say, a lot of companies can get up in 3 or 4 months if they're general ledger, AR, AP, not complex integrations and so forth. I think that could extend to 6 to 9 months if use a little more modules, have a few more users, a few more companies. It just gets a little bit more complex. And I've seen some manufacturing and production type organizations that do have all of that warehousing and complexity going on can take between 9 to even 18 to 24 months. Just depends. We'd like to actually go through the discovery process and help assess what that level of effort really would look like for your individual business. Because again, no two businesses are the same. And actually, Business Central offers more than one way to do many things. So that's why the discovery really helps us nail down what a recommendation would be for functionality, therefore, level of effort, therefore, timeline as well. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, please reach out if you do find one. We would love to help answer. And other than that, I will bid you adieu.
Thank you, David.